Bitcoin continuing its chop up and down. We are setting up for potentially a super cycle, but does that mean we're going to leave this price behind without taking another dip? We're going to be diving into this in just a moment. So I hope each and every one of you is locked in, paying attention. I'm getting this retweeted on Twitter, on Rumble, on YouTube, all over the place. So if you are tuned in, let me know you are live. Get active in the live chat right now. We're going to be diving right on into this. So I hope you all are feeling good, looking good, and these markets are setting up for you. So let's get into it. Let's go. What's up, BitLab Academy? Good morning, good afternoon, good night. We got a lot of stuff to look at in the price action today on Bitcoin, but this is mainly what I'm focused on. The macro picture that is an absolute, astonishingly beautiful bull run in the stair steps to the upside, stair step to the upside, stair step to the upside, ongoing and continuation. Are we due for a very microscopic pullback here, or is this about to break out and leave everything behind? I think we need to get out of the hyper focus on the near term and make sure that we have our long-term picture sort of organized and what we want to do, what our action plan is going to be. So if we do get a small time frame pullback, we can take advantage of it because we've got some incredible signal today, and we're going to dive right on into it and look at this coming back out to the weekly, still mostly red. White is up still. We saw a bit of a pullback yesterday. This is on the weekly chart, of course, but we're going to just see how this is lining out over the week, the day. A lot of red on the day. A couple key independent coins within this still making some gains, but then on the hourly, everything is green. Now, why is this? Because when we come over here and look at this on the hourly chart, this is a 4-hourly chart actually, we see this came right down to the trend line that we've had outlined on this chart for some time. And when we zoom out on this, let's go to the daily and realize we got some ugliness here with a potential breakdown target down here into the mid 95, 96K level. And we're going to be diving into this. We're going to be looking at TA on Bitcoin. We're going to be looking at TA on Ethereum and also what our favorite alts are looking like here in just a moment. But before we do that, I just wanted to say hello. How you doing? Hope you're having a wonderful day. Bitcoin is sitting here right now, $105,562. And we're seeing some signs of a little bit of chop, much like yesterday's thumbnail suggested, the pump chop caution. We got the pump yesterday. We saw a bit of that drawdown following that pump. And this is what I'm talking about right here. If we look at this, we see the price action. Where is it at? This chart? No, there, got one of these charts. Where is it? Too many darn charts. I don't know where that darn chart is. I had it somewhere and maybe I deleted it. I've got too many setups here. There is a boom, 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 boom. Let's go right here. I think it's actually this chart. Yeah, this chart right here. This is what I'm looking at, 24-minute. So double clicking on this, we see the price action had the pump and then right back down into the zone. And then we've actually lost the zone and coming down for a potential setup for a further breakdown. Critical knowledge right now. When you're looking at the price action, we saw the pump. A lot of people jumped in right here hoping they would catch the breakout to the upside, only to have it reverse, come down, bounce, and then lose this. We are in a very critical juncture in the very near term. What I'm talking about is over the next 48 hours, because with the loss of this level, and this nice pump back up into the zone, if this cannot re-tackle this trend line that we have right in this zone, if we cannot tackle this, then this may be set up for a confirmation for a little bit more of a breakdown, meaning coming up in here, rejection, coming down, something like this, and then making the Bitcoin price making its way a little bit lower, which we've had marked out on here for some time. First level we're really watching is this 102 level, but 100K, and then of course down a bit further, looking at the prices coming down into this zone here. Look at this, 104. This level down here about 103, and then of course the targets below at 100,000, and then of course down to that $96,000 level. But we got some key things we want to look at. In fact, if we refresh this from yesterday, we are sitting here right at $3.32 trillion market cap. The Bitcoin dominance is still sitting at 63%, but we got a critical signal that we need to pay attention to here on the Bitcoin dominance here in just a moment, which we're going to be looking at, which may be signaling we may, again, I say may, be entering a period where altcoins are going to start to outperform. But what does that look like? Well, let's go ahead and go through some of these charts, because this is the critical level that we're watching on Bitcoin. The critical level, which we have now hit our head up against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. This is that zone. This is that gateway. It's right in line with the gateway that we've talked about on the price action. If we come over here and zoom out on this, go to the 3-day chart, looking right here at this mega pump gateway, this is perfectly in line, this 112, 110 zone, right in line with what we're seeing when we look at this chart right here, which is where we've already rejected before. This is a level that we all need to have our eyeballs on, because once this clears, I think we start to get some very fast movement to the upsides. A large move up to 117, potentially up to 134, 164, 205, and beyond. But as it stands right now, when we're looking at this just zoomed in, this is that critical juncture we're looking at. Now, expecting it to break beyond this right now, from this moment, this is the price you buy, we can't say that. What we can say is we're doing the work to really destroy the order books at this level. In fact, when we look at the liquidation zones, I want you to notice something. You see this liquidity that kind of piled up here. We kind of scooped a little bit of it. We did not have the bullish confidence to have any movement higher from here, but just notice, see this zone that's right below us? If we zoom out on this and realize, look at this, this came all the way down, scooped this up. Now we've got a little bit of liquidity above us at 105.3, and then the majority of the liquidity is up here above us in the 106.5 all the way up to 108, $108,000 level. So when we're looking at this and realizing that that chop solidation, the chop solidation is what's happening right now, we just sort of weaning out and clearing out, flushing out a lot of that over leveraged nature in the market, while corporations just continue stacking. And it's not just Ethereum. This is that key level we're watching on Ethereum, but then we're also, on Bitcoin, I mean, this is that key level we're watching on Bitcoin, but also looking at Ethereum, this is the zone we're really watching on Ethereum. This is that level that I talked about, and I've had this on my chart. This is just another way to look at it from Crypto Gel. And we see this goes all the way back here to 2022, support all along the way, support until now it's become resistance. This is that level we really want to get over. Not only the 2,800, but just a little bit above that, right about the $3,000 mark. Clearing above this would signal massive gains likely starting to come into the altcoin market. The question is going to be, how does this play out with all this new capital flowing in and being very focused on Bitcoin? I think the time might be coming to where this overexuberance, I won't even call it overexuberance, this focused exuberance into capital flowing into Bitcoin. We saw massive sell-offs in ETH, and not only ETH, but the ETH to Bitcoin pair. If we look at this on the ETH to Bitcoin pair chart, let me zoom out on this, double click here. Massive downside price action. This was about 987 days of a downtrend on the ETH to Bitcoin pair. And I do think this likely has bottomed. And when we're looking at this zoomed in, let's zoom in on this just like this. We got a bit of a, sort of nice break out of the zone. A little bit of a retest to the downside, bulls defended, and this is sort of hovering in this region, which kind of looks like a cup and handle. Kind of, you can't say it's an inverted head and shoulders, but cup and handle, same way you measure this. But this is looking like the pullback, and then now the move up. This is starting to look like it's trying to accumulate before the next move higher. And look at this right here. This ETH to Bitcoin pair is just feeling like it's coiled up in a way that we cannot even imagine. Now, beyond that, we got Bitcoin sitting right at the cusp of its next leg up. We have Ethereum sitting right at the cusp of its next leg up. If this is a bit of a bull flag, then this would target somewhere up here at the this previous range high up right about $4,000. But this is that level we really need to watch. This diagonal trend line that's sitting just above our heads, that's basically keeping the altcoin market at bay before it really starts to roll. Excuse me. Now, when ETH starts to make its move, I don't expect that all the altcoins out there are going to start to move, because we're going to see that capital rotation that we've seen. in markets as we've seen them in previous cycles, that a lot of people have thought maybe this time's different because, we had the meme focus, we had the AI focus, we had the Bitcoin focus, just persisting throughout. I do think when ETH does make its run up here and has some pullback with the bulls defending and then the price action then moving higher from that point, I think after this move is when you start to see the alts really start to move. That doesn't mean alts won't move alongside this also. I just think the moment when you start to see massive altcoin explosions and positive price movement will be after the bulls on Ethereum take over this zone and really start to make its way beyond these highs here in basically the $4,000 range. But alts will move along with that. But we're seeing overwhelming bullishness. I know you've likely seen it on some of the other channels, but seeing that the pro-Bitcoin Democratic Party candidate Lee Jae-myung wins South Korea's presidency. So we have another world leader now that is very much for opening up Bitcoin ETFs, allocating some of the state pension funds to Bitcoin, and just being pro-Bitcoin in general. This is good, and it's one of those things on the world stage for what is coming, and that's just giving me a lot more bullish idea about what's happening in this market. In fact, where did I, right here, we also see Fidelity Digital Assets. An increasing number of institutions are leveraging Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset, and as understanding of the asset deepens, interest continues to grow. In fact, not only is interest growing, we're also seeing a major swings here, which is this right here. Corporate treasuries now hold over 3% of all Bitcoin. That's not a big number, right? That doesn't matter. Well, when you consider that Bitcoin has a fixed supply cap, meaning the total number of Bitcoin that will ever exist is 21 million, and roughly 4 to 6 million of those Bitcoin have been lost for eternity, not to be recovered. So put it somewhere between 15 to 17 million, somewhere in that range of Bitcoin of actual supply that can be accessed. In that knowledge, we also know that roughly over 60 plus firms have doubled their Bitcoin in 2 months. Now, this isn't talking about strategy, which is steadily just stacking thousands and thousands and thousands. We have some companies that are just now entering this Bitcoin treasury paradigm or Bitcoin stacking paradigm. Some of them have 3.9 Bitcoin, some have 4, some have 4.3, some have 5. We're going to see an inordinate, an exponential number of corporations not only stacking, and they're going to be coming in with, the Bitcoin allocations from 1 Bitcoin all the way up to 100,000 plus. And it's not something to laugh at when you see a company starting a Bitcoin treasury and they stack in with $1 million, only 10 Bitcoin, or somebody, a corporation out there starts a strategy and only picks up 2 Bitcoin. That is something that is going to be massively impactful, because if you think of the report that came out of one of the executives from Kraken suggesting roughly about 11,000 companies are going to be stacking in to Bitcoin in the next 3 years, give or take. Those were roughly the numbers. If you have 11,000 companies, even if they were on the low side with 1 Bitcoin each, that's 11,000 Bitcoin. If you stack it into 5 Bitcoin, that's 55,000 Bitcoin. If you stack it in with an average somewhere in the 150 to 1,000 Bitcoin, these numbers start to stack exponentially, especially that's not even considering individuals, ultra high net worth people, wealthy people, or even all those millions of shrimps out there buying 0.002 Bitcoin. The exponential effect of the race to stack Bitcoin is going to create a supply shock like we cannot even comprehend. And we're seeing dwindling supplies on exchange already, currently. We're seeing corporations go exponential on their stacking. And the number of corporations that are stacking is also going exponential. The number of people getting involved with Bitcoin and, even adjacent crypto assets out there. We are about to see price action like we would not even believe. And because the world's just waking up, I very, very wholeheartedly believe that there's a little bit of jockeying going around behind the scenes that's kind of not allowing the prices to run. However, those of us that are patient, those of us that are stacking, stand to see a very different future than we could have ever imagined. And all it takes right now is being aware of crypto, investigating or educating at a minimum. Even if you investigate, even if you educate yourself with 5 minutes of education on Bitcoin, you literally will be ahead of about 6.5, 7 billion people in the world. Most people outside of our bubble, they're not in crypto YouTube. They're not watching BitLab Academy. They're not watching even people like Jim Cramer or really being aware of what's going on the global financial landscape, or even being aware of the issue of money printing and the devaluing, not only of the dollars. Screw devaluing the dollars. Let's make it more realistic. When money is printed, they are devaluing how much you earned per hour for all those hard hours of labor that you did throughout your life. Let's think about a grandfather. Think about somebody that did construction. Think about anybody out there that's worked. When money gets printed, the government is literally saying those hours you worked, they're not worth as much now. Why does that matter? Because if you worked hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of hours and you were getting paid dollars, and now those dollars can't go as far, essentially they're telling you you need to work more now to earn money because your money is not worth as much. But if you're in this black hole, this positive black hole in the global finance ecosystem now, for all the people, for the people, by the people, governed without the people. That's what Bitcoin is. So we don't have to deal with all this malfeasance. Then you get to capture all this mismanagement. You get to capture the money printing, the inflation that happens. Rather than inflating away your ability to have purchasing power, you inflate what the valuation of your assets are over time. And Bitcoin is the apex asset out there. That's why I'm stacking with every single thing I do. I know a lot of you see me. You see me on the Mario Nawfal spaces. You see me on Discover Crypto. You see me on BitLab Academy. You see me doing other spaces with Gary Cardone and The Real Plan C and The Rational Root. I am everywhere because I cannot allow myself to sleep on any minute right now that is stealing from my future. If you are sleeping on a minute right now, if you're over entertained, if you're only focused on what your next episode on your favorite TV show is, then you are legitimately stealing tens of thousands of hours from yourself now in terms of the amount of hours you're going to have to work to recapture what you're able to do now. If you're investing and taking advantage of the market now before the explosion, that's why I'm everywhere. That's why I'm always working. But let's look at these data because we got some magic to look at. We have some really great signals that are suggesting this, right here. This is telling me Supercycle's coming. Corporate treasuries with over 60 plus firms doubling their Bitcoin in 2 months. And this is only just beginning. Governments haven't even really legitimately started buying it. El Salvador has, sure. The U.S. has a plan that they've discussed. It hasn't happened yet. We see Pakistan just announced their strategic Bitcoin reserve. We see that California just announced a new policy that you can pay government fees in Bitcoin and digital assets. The world is waking up. So when we look at this and we realize that the global liquidity is only going to tick higher from here, AKA fuel for bulls to push higher. This always leads the market. This always leads asset prices going higher. And what do we see here? A massive uptick. We haven't even really look at this. Break past all-time high here. This is, yes, minusculely broken past all-time high. But as it stands right now, look at this. This is just sitting here waiting for that slingshot to push to the upside. And then we look at this key level or this key level bundle that we're watching, 96,000. But Kelly, you're talking about a bullish super cycle going up to 150, 200, maybe even 300 and beyond this cycle. Why are you looking at this level below us at 96,000? Because every bull market in any asset ever will always have moments where you're having this expansion, this bullish expansion of momentum to the upside, the cooling of those bulls, a retracement into a level, and the bulls either defend a higher low and you maintain this bull structure, or they don't. And what do we see? Rise, retrace, continuation, retrace, continuation, retrace, continuation, retrace. Look at this. This was very scary, but this not only barely retested this previous previous high here, but this also resulted in another continuation. A retrace where testing previous range high. Now we're kind of in that mode right now. Is it going to be expansion to a new all-time high, or do we need to come down and retest in this bundle right here? I mean, we had 6 months sideways price action here, chopping in a $20,000 range. The entire size of the market that took 12, 14 years to go from zero all the way up to about $19,000. Okay. And then in this last cycle, this last summer, we saw a 6-month range with the entire size of the entire market leading up to 2017, swinging 7, 8 times, $19,000, $20,000 swings, boom. And then we get this massive launch from about 49,000 all the way up to, well up here into the 106, so 109s. And then now we've actually broken above that, 111, 112. And people think we're topping, and no signals on-chain data suggest that. In fact, we have not even had any of the retail players out there. But how is everybody doing? Welcome to the show. If this is your first time here, welcome to the BitLab Academy. It's all about breaking down the data, breaking down the charts, breaking down the signal, pulling these ingredients together so that we can make informed decisions about what to do in this market, how to navigate, and how to make some money in this market and stop giving it away to people that already have 3 vacation homes and 2, summer boats. No, we're here to make money so we can get our first vacation home, so we can get our first boat, so we can buy our sister house, so we can pay for our nephew's college, so we can expand our future. That's what this is about. I do want to take a moment and say thank you to our channel partners, Bitcoin IRA. You can check them out at bitcoinira.com. If you're not looking forward right now on how to methodologically, what's the word I'm looking for? Methodology, have healthy strategy in how you're navigating what your tax structures are going to be. So you don't basically cut off 20 to 40% of your profits because you're just trading willy-nilly. All of us are going to hold something long-term, right? So why not also take advantage of, regulated and incredible tax benefits like Roth IRAs, which you can trade 75 different cryptocurrencies with Bitcoin IRA and do it. I don't want to say tax-free, but do it where you're not having to pay tax on those capital gains because it's in your Roth IRA. Head over to bitcoinira.com to look into that. Also, LBank. When you sign up with LBank with us, not only is it a great exchange, you get access to a great section of our Discord, and that link is pinned to the top of the live chat there in the live chat on YouTube. It's also pinned to the top of the live chat over on Rumble. Shout out to anybody that's watching on Rumble. If you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, make sure you are hitting that subscribe button. If you're watching on Twitter, whether you saw this through Discover Crypto or you saw this on BitLab Academy or on my page at Kelly Kellam, go to that profile you're watching this on, hit that like button, hit that that subscribe button. Make sure you're following along because we're breaking down the data for you. And of course, also make sure you're protecting your crypto, protect your future. GetArculus.com. Use code BitLab20, BITLAB20, BitLab20 for 20% off. The best crypto cold storage solution out there. GetArculus.com for more there. Now let's dive in and look at this data because we got some incredible stuff on the chart. So now when we're zooming in here, what do we see? We have all these levels that we watched. FTX bottom, the massive run up here, ETFs go live, and then it crashed. It's over. I feel very sad for people that fell for this emotional trap because this was the slingshot we were buying here on the BitLab Academy. Nice slingshot to the upside. And then this was the Japanese yen carry trade. The world's over. Boom, slingshot. Trump got elected. Boom, move up. Trump got inaugurated right here on January 20th. Let's go to the daily. January 20th was the inauguration day. Funny how that also, look at this. January 20th, boom, right here. We had that wick to the upside. That marked the top. And then we had this a little bit of a sell-off, provided beautiful opportunity with a bullish divergence here. Lower lows. And then on the RSI, look at this. On the RSI, we have higher lows, bullish divergence, also tested right here to the previous range high. Beautiful setup for a call for a pump out of here. And I even shared this on my Twitter. I shared this on the live stream as this was breaking down into this. The VIX was also signaling a likely reversal at this point, in addition to the falling wedge, finding support, hitting previous range top, hitting the bullish divergence. So many signals here said, great buy, boom, we got it. Now this went from $74,000 all the way up here to about $111,000, $112,000. Look at that. Look at that high right here. So when I put it on that candle right at 112,000 even, now we're getting a little bit of a pullback and it's over. It's not over. It's just beginning. However, on the daily chart, this does look very bullish, but when you start zooming in a little bit, you can see some pretty clear signals that are suggesting we may take a swing in the near term a little bit lower. Now, what does that look like? Well, first off, we got a bit of a, let's look at this chart right here. Actually, it's a little bit clearer. We got a little bit of like a shoulder, head, shoulder, and this has already taken one swing down. The bulls ate it back up. If this does take another swing lower, and remember, today there's news that could affect the markets. Today is that deadline where Trump was saying, and the Trump administration was saying, we needed to, they moved up the deadline for some of the proposals for trade agreements with different nations with all the tariff wars and all that. We may get something that completely invalidates this as being a head and shoulders, and that's just, pumps to the upside. And then we're going to be watching right here at 110. First off, we're going to be watching right at 106.8. Why? Because this is these range lows. See, boom, just like this. Range high, low, low. And we already rejected once. If this pushes up here and slices through it, great. Next top 110. If this pushes up and rejects, then I'm expecting either a little sideways or even another roll back down to retest the 104 and then potentially continue falling. And this, again, would be only a near-term thing. But we have a lot of support under us. We've got all this support here with the look at this. This is a 200-day moving average, that line that you see blinking. 200-day moving average, and then we have the 21-week moving average. You see how they're all bundled right in the same exact spot, short-term holder cost basis, right in that same spot. And then, of course, that other level that we've all been watching, the CME futures gap, which is right here at about 92.3. Let's see, 92.3 down to about 91.6, about $800 move. This does not have to get filled. They just have a very, very, very high hit rate of getting filled. So if this does take the swing lower, and look at this, rising level of resistance through here, and then it turns into support. Now look, resistance, resistance, resistance. So not only do we have this head and shoulders type pattern, where's it at? This head and shoulders type pattern. Why is this not flipping? There we go. Shoulder, head, shoulder. We also see on the CME futures that if you project this out, this has already lost this level of support. It's now acting as resistance. If this does break further down, then the next level I'm watching is right here about 105, and the next level down here about 95. And if this swings down into here, I think there'd be a pretty high likelihood that we get some sort of wick down or some sort of move down to flush out the CME futures. But all in all, I am overwhelmingly bullish about where this market is setting up to go. I'm so bullish. I welcome this coming down here because it means I have a little bit more time to stack. We have the rest of our lives for Bitcoin. Let me say this. We have the rest of our lives. We have the rest of our lives for Bitcoin to see massive gains to the upside with corporations, with governments, with individuals waking up to the value that Bitcoin holds for the future, the value that it holds for transparency and efficiency, and the best store of value out there. And those of you and I, and governments and corporations that take advantage of this earliest also stand to gain the most, because we're going to see a massive expansion in price as there's a limited supply and there's going to be a race to stack into Bitcoin. And there's money printing that never stops, which only drives the asset prices of risk assets or risk off investment assets higher. And Bitcoin's the only one with the fixed supply out there. All these other stocks, great. Has nothing to do with what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is a risk on asset. Bitcoin is a risk off asset. The risk in Bitcoin is if you don't hold it. Corporations are waking up to it. Governments are waking up to it. Individuals are waking up to it. My question for you is, if you've already bought, it doesn't mean you've woken up to it. You've woken up to what this asset is. If when you're looking at the price action on Bitcoin, if you're worried that this might go down versus looking at this like an opportunity if it goes down. I see opportunity if this goes down, because for the rest of our lives, this price is going to be expanding to the upside with some swings along the way. And I'm going to take advantage of every one of those swings to the best of my ability. And I hope you all are educating yourself, stepping outside of the emotions of these trades and looking at what you can do to capture and keep as much Bitcoin as possible. Because then we come over here and look at Ethereum. Ethereum came right into that box. This is that same thing. It's still within the box. And I didn't even extend this, but this was literally just a drawn box. It'd be funny if this ended right at this point where it's at the end of the box, if this started to break out. But it's right at a key level. It's oscillating, boom, up and down, right around this key level. And that key level is the same level that we see on the Ethereum chart right here. Coming up right here, this is just drawn a little bit differently. If we come over to my chart here, you see this, Boom, this comes all the way back here to 2022, all the way up to where we're at right now, just oscillating around it regionally, just struggling to break through. If this does break down back to 2300, 2380, at this level, boom, I do think we'll likely make the move into the golden pocket, the measure move from here to here. If this does break down, boom, this would be the 382, but boom, looking at the 2100 level. But it feels like the altcoins are so overwhelmingly coiled up. In fact, if we come over here, Tech Dev, friend of mine, great chartist on the on crypto Twitter, but he's got this right here. Look at this chart. Time is up. 4 years in the making. The altcoin, the alt market, the alt season spring has never been wound tighter. What is he talking about? This is the Bollinger Bands. This is a 20 moving average. This is obviously on the 2-month chart. You see 2M right here. So this is a 20 moving average on 2-month candles. We're sitting here holding this beautifully as support, We've already bounced on this as support, but then the Bollinger Bands being this constricted, meaning the volatility has collapsed on itself. There's almost no volatility in terms of what we're seeing historically. This is the tightest these bands have ever been, meaning the smallest amount of volatility that we've seen in the history of altcoins in this market. Now, when we're looking at this typically means on any asset, on any signal, things are cyclical. When things get very volatile, then they tend to contract back down to low volatility. When they get very compressed and very low volatility, then you tend to get an expansive move out of that volatility, much like you see right here. See the compression in and then the expansion out. This was a massive move for alts when this happened. And look at how tight this is. Now, there's going to be one of two things that are going to really happen here. Either this is going to be very lackluster and just upset everybody and only get a little bit of a move out of this. But I still think, even with all of the corporate focus on Bitcoin, we're starting to see the Ethereum market wake up in terms of we're seeing some outflows on the Bitcoin ETFs. We're seeing some inflows on the Ethereum ETFs. We're seeing stacking by major world players by like Donald Trump at World Liberty Finance. We're seeing, I forget what company is talking about adding a strategic Ethereum reserve. Now, these are all small different ingredients. And I do not think ETH is by any means dead. I think we're going to see some pretty large gains there. And if we do, we'll also see in these other aspects of the altcoin ecosystem, see massive gains. Now, why is that? Because if the world is integrating over or evolving, upscaling into this next level of technology, which is blockchain. And we see things like Ondo, like Chainlink, like BitTensor Tau, like Cardano, like XRP, like Avalanche, like Solana. All of these have slightly different, similar, but slightly different applications in different ways they can and will be utilized and integrated across corporate layers, across government layers, across global payment layers, across proof of reserves, across transparency, across voting, across medical records, across ID. I mean, the entire world is about to get integrated. It's already in process of matriculating over to this next level up, which is blockchain technology. So while Bitcoin is the focus of the crypto market, Bitcoin is Bitcoin. I don't even think of it as crypto. Crypto and all these other altcoin layer 1s and layer 2s and layer 3s, they stand to have massive impact in terms of adoption. The question is going to be, how's it going to affect the price? Some of them have terrible tokenomics. Some of them have terrible teams. Many of the altcoins that you even hold probably won't even be around in 5 to 7 years. However, the ones that do, it's like the integration of when the world wasn't on the internet to now us going over the world coming onto the blockchain. That is the magnitude of the difference of moving to blockchain. So although I'm a sort of a Bitcoin maxi at heart for storing my value, I am also a technology maxi and looking at where the world's going and how much blockchain as a whole stands to gain. In particular, specific altcoins are going to see an insane run over the next 10 to 15 years. The problem is which ones. That's why we break it down for you every day here on BitLab Academy, on Discover Crypto, on Blockchain Basement. We want to make sure that we can look at the rising tides, the ebbs, the flows of the market, the liquidity, where mindshare is, where one project might be really eclipsing another, so we can cut our losses there and put our assets back over here, Reallocation is something regular that we need to do on a regular basis, especially within the altcoin market, because this market and the evolution of this market is moving so fast. We have to remain nimble because this market will only get quicker. We need to make sure that we're doing the right things here. So when we come back over here and we look at Ethereum and we see Ethereum on the ETH to Bitcoin chart making a swing, an attempt to swing higher, great. This will be awesome for altcoins. And when we look at the altcoin market, when will alt season actually explode? Well, we're looking at the potential makings of that move right now. When we zoom out on this and we realize that the altcoin market, this is Bitcoin dominance pushing higher and higher and higher and higher. Little fake out here where alt saw a pretty good run. And then look at this, Bitcoin dominance push higher, higher and higher. Now, what I'm seeing here is Bitcoin dominance went up to about 65.5%. Now, if you look at this with a measured a Fibonacci retracement here, notice that this bounce right on the trend line that we've had drawn here for some time, the bounce here only took the dominance back up right into this pocket, right around the golden pocket. Now, this structure itself looks like it's really attempting to roll over. If this does roll over and this loses this 382 and loses this rising level of support here, the levels I'm watching are right here. This is the critical level to watch for Bitcoin dominance to give you the signal when the alt season mega flood of capital, mega run, change your life with profits is going to happen. And that's right here when Bitcoin dominance actually breaks down from this level and clears through this zone right here, which is this previous range high, this chop right here, and this bounce. This is highlighted here in this little light orange. But then really, this is a green go signal right here. Once you lose through 61.5, through 60.5, this zone, once the Bitcoin dominance loses this and starts with momentum, coming up, retesting and moving to the downside, that's when alts are really going to run. And that's why we've been stacking. That's why even with like something like Ondo, it might feel frustrating, but this is getting integrated into the U.S. stock markets, bringing stocks and securities to global markets and 24/7. And they have players like BlackRock and Goldman Sachs and I think Fidelity. I'm not actually sure about Fidelity. I can't remember. But Wisdom Tree, MasterCard, the number of McKinsey, some of the largest international businesses and finance and financial services players are, in some ways partnered with, or invested in Ondo. So while this is giving us, it feels like weakness right now. Let's delete these fibs. This is really, I kind of secretly hope this gives us a double bottom down here into the 65 cent. If this is able to hold up here, great. But this does not bother me that this hasn't moved yet. In fact, I'm thankful. We looked at Morpho. Morpho also starting a little bit of a breakout here on the daily. Broke out, of this sort of downtrend. It's right on the cusp of it. But the next leg up is up here all the way at $1.73, $1.74. If this rolls over, great. We have the level right below us, and it has a target on it already, the $1.16. It doesn't upset me. It means I get to stack more. We need to get to opportunity mindset. When you see price action on any asset, I don't care if it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or especially key altcoins, not every altcoin, but when you see an asset that you believe in, when you see it pulling back, maybe you're already in it, then you have to ask yourself, what was your outlook? What was your diligence? What's your idea of where this is going to go this cycle? Rather than being upset that it's not moving now, take a step back and say, is there opportunity here to either lower my average entry? Meaning if you bought up here and you get to add to your position down here, now your average entry goes much lower, meaning the price doesn't even have to go as far to the upside before you're back at a net even profit or loss. So let's look for opportunities here and not be upset that this isn't running yet. The price is hovering since we broke past $100,000 this time. We're still currently holding and accumulating above $100,000. If we get the swing to 96,000, let's celebrate it. Let's welcome it. Let's look for the opportunity in those dips. We are in a bull market. We look for opportunities in dips. That is opportunity right there. You see this ETH coming down right in this zone. That was opportunity right there. We need to look for opportunities. With that being said, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I hope you all had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Monday. We are on to Tuesday. We are on to Wednesday. This week has flown by. You can't see it. I got my blood drawn this morning, getting my physical. I'm doing my technical analysis on my body like I do every year just to make sure I'm healthy and happy so I could be here for you, so I could be there for the ones I love. I hope you all get yourself checked as well. I'm going to send you over to Blockchain Basement now. That's all I got in today's episode. BitLab Academy. I love you. I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next one. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell, and check the links below right now when you're watching this stream. Make sure right down below it says subscribed or has these symbols. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit that all button, turn on your notifications. And if you want to join us right here, you can join us in the Discord. That link is right here. If you want to join us on LBank to get free access to a good portion of the Discord, that link's right there. All you need to do is turn on your VPN. You don't need to KYC. I always set my VPN to like Bolivia or Brazil or, something like that. It's a smart thing to do for security. You can also have a link for you right here for a VPN, and you get 4 months free. NordVPN.com/BitLab. And of course, GetArculus.com. Use code BitLab20 for 20% off. Best crypto cold storage solution out there. That's all I got for you today, everybody. I love you. I appreciate you. Hope you have a wonderful day. Adios, muchachos.